There is an image circulating on social media right now that has brought an entire nation to tears. It is not a picture of a disaster. It is not a picture of a crime scene. It is a picture of a piece of paper. But this is not just any piece of paper. It is a banknote, a currency bill issued not by the Bank of Jamaica, not by the Federal Reserve, and not by the Bank of England. It is a bill issued by the Alliance of Sahel States, specifically under the directive of Captain Ibrahim Traoré. And right there in the center of the bill, printed in gold ink, against a background of Sahelian patterns, is the face of the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey for the people of Jamaica. This image is a punch to the gut. It is a mixture of overwhelming pride and deep stinging shame. Pride because their greatest son, the prophet of Pan-Africanism, is finally receiving the honor. He deserves on the global stage shame because it took a young soldier in Burkina Faso to do what the Jamaican government has refused to do for 60 years, honor Garvey with the highest form of economic sovereignty. Why is Jamaica crying today? Because they are realizing that the spirit of Garvey has found a new home. They are realizing that while they have statues of Garvey in Kingston, the true living legacy of Garvey is being built in Ouagadougou. This video is going to explore the explosive reveal of this new currency. Note why it signifies the end of the colonial financial system, and why Andrew Holness and the banking elite in the Caribbean are terrified of a piece of paper that is worth more than their entire reputation. To understand the weight of this moment, we have to go back to the history of money in Jamaica. For decades, the Jamaican. Most people have watched their currency lose value. They have watched the face of their money become a symbol of inflation and dependence. They look at their banknotes and they see the faces of politicians who made deals with the IMF, politicians who sold out the island's bauxite and tourism industries. But they have never seen the face of the man who told them to look to Africa. They have never seen the face of the man who preached economic independence. The Jamaican government has always been afraid to put Garvey on the money in a way that matters. Why? Because money is power, and Garvey represents the redistribution of power. If you put Garvey on the bill, you have to respect what Garvey stood for. You cannot have Garvey's face on a currency that is backed by debt. You cannot have Garvey's face on a dollar that is pegged to the US dollar. It would be a contradiction. It would be an insult, so they kept him off the real money. They relegated him to coins, to commemorative items, while the real power remained in the hands of the colonial overseers. But Ibrahim Traoré does not suffer from this contradiction. Traoré is building an economy that is exactly what Garvey dreamed of. An economy backed by gold, an economy based on production, an economy that cuts ties with the colonial masters. So when Traoré decided to design the new currency for the Alliance of Sahel, he didn't choose a French general, he didn't choose a colonial administrator, he reached across the Atlantic Ocean and chose the man who started it all. He chose Garvey. This act is a diplomatic masterstroke. It is a message to the diaspora that says, we see you, we honor you, and we are one people. The report of this new bill, whether it is a commemorative issue or a circulating note, has shattered the psychological barrier between Africa and the Caribbean for a young Jamaican sitting in a crumbling school in Kingston. Seeing this bill is a revelation. It proves that they are not forgotten. It proves that their history is not just something to be studied in a textbook, but a living, breathing blueprint for the future. Imagine the scene in the markets of Kingston right now. Market women who have been struggling to make ends meet with the devalued Jamaican dollar are looking at this image on their phones and wiping tears from their eyes. They are saying, "Look at our father, look how beautiful he looks on the African money." They are comparing it to the wrinkled, dirty notes in their pockets, and they are feeling a deep anger rising. Why is our money worthless while Traoré's money is backed by gold? Why is our leader shaking hands with King Charles while Traoré is putting our hero on the pedestal? The crying of Jamaica is the crying of a child who realizes their parents have lied to them for years. They were told that Africa was poor. They were told that Burkina Faso was a wasteland of terrorism. Now they see that Burkina Faso is the guardian of their heritage. This flip in the narrative is dangerous for the status quo. Andrew Holness knows that symbols move people more than policies. He can pave 100 roads. He can build a new airport. But he can never compete with the emotional power of seeing Marcus Garvey honored by a warrior king. Holness knows that this bill is not just currency. It is a recruitment flyer. It is calling the Jamaican people to mentally defect from the Western system and align themselves with the rising power of the Sahel. Let's talk about the economics behind the face. Putting Garvey on the bill is not just a cosmetic choice. It signifies the philosophy of the currency, and this new Sahel currency is rumored to be backed by the massive gold reserves that Traoré has seized from the French mining companies. It is a currency that cannot be inflated away by central bankers in Europe. It is a currency of substance. Garvey famously said that the Negro must have an economic base. He must have industry and commerce. Traoré is fulfilling this by creating a currency that facilitates trade between African nations without passing through the dollar or the euro. When a merchant in Mali buys goods from a merchant in Burkina Faso using this bill, they are engaging in a transaction of sovereignty. Garvey's face on that note watches over that transaction, giving it a spiritual seal of approval. For the Jamaican diaspora, this is incredibly attractive. Many Jamaicans have lost faith in the banking system at home. They have seen their savings evaporate due to inflation and fees. Now, they see a currency that is stable, strong, and culturally resonant. The question is already being asked on social media. How can I buy this currency? How can I open an account in the AES? How can I convert my Jamaican dollars into Garvey bills? This is the beginning of capital flight, not driven by fear, but driven by love and pride. People want to hold a piece of history. They want to hold a piece of the future. The tears in Jamaica are also tears of realization about the betrayal of their own leaders. Why hasn't the Bank of Jamaica issued a gold-backed Garvey bond? Why hasn't the Jamaican government created a sovereign wealth fund named after Garvey? The answer is, painful it is because the Jamaican system is designed to serve foreign capital, not local accumulation. If they honored Garvey economically, they would have to dismantle the very system that keeps them in power. They would have to stop borrowing from the IMF. They would have to nationalize the bauxite mines, just like Traoré nationalized the gold mines. The contrast is blinding. Traoré is doing what Holness is afraid to do, and that cowardice is now exposed for the whole world to see. On a rectangular piece of paper printed in Ouagadougou, the design of the bill itself is laden with symbolism. Reports suggest that alongside Garvey's face there are images of the Black Star, the symbol of his shipping line, and images of agricultural abundance, wheat, corn, and millet. This connects Garvey's dream of trade with Traoré's reality of food sovereignty. It shows a incomplete ecosystem of independence. Garvey provides the vision, Traoré provides the land and the protection. It is a partnership across time and space. The bill also reportedly features the slogan, "One God, one aim, one destiny," Garvey's famous motto printed in both French and English, bridging the language divide that the colonizers used to keep us apart. This is a direct challenge to the Francophone-Anglophone divide in West Africa. Traoré is saying, we are not defined by the language of our oppressors. We are defined by the destiny of our people. By putting English text on a Sahelian bill, he is explicitly inviting the English-speaking Caribbean to join the Union. He is erasing the borders drawn at the Berlin Conference and the borders drawn by the slave trade. The emotional impact of this bill extends beyond Jamaica. It is being felt in Harlem, in Brixton, in Toronto. Everywhere the children of Garvey live, they are seeing this and feeling a pull, a magnetic attraction to the Sahel. It is validating their identity in a way that no Western passport ever could. Holding a US dollar with the face of a slave owner or a genocidal president is a subconscious humiliation. For a black person, holding a bill with the face of Marcus Garvey is a subconscious elevation. It changes how you view value. It changes how you view yourself. Traoré understands psychological warfare. He knows that to win the war against neocolonialism, he must win the minds of the people. He must make them believe that they are wealthy, that they are powerful, and that they are winners. Putting Garvey on the money is the ultimate confidence boost. It is telling the world that the values of Garvey are the currency of the future. The tears of Jamaica are the breaking of a dam for too long. Jamaicans have held on to the hope that their own government would save them, that eventually the two-party system in Kingston would produce a leader who truly cared. But this image has shattered that illusion. It has shown them that salvation will not come from inside the house. It will come from the east, from the land of their ancestors. The crying is the sound of a people letting go of a false hope and grabbing onto a new reality. It is the sound of a people realizing that they have been looking in the wrong direction for 60 years. They looked to Washington and London for validation, when they should have been looking to Ouagadougou and Bamako. The new bill is also a humiliation for the International Monetary Fund. The IMF has spent decades lecturing African and Caribbean nations on how to manage their money, telling them that their currencies must be weak to encourage exports, telling them that they cannot subsidize food for the poor. Traoré has thrown their rulebook into the fire by issuing a currency that is unapologetically nationalist and backed by hard assets. He is proving that the IMF's theories are just tools of control. And by putting Garvey's face on it, he is adding insult to injury. He is using the face of the man the West feared most to decorate the instrument of their financial defeat. Imagine the panic in the boardrooms of the Western banks. They know that money is confidence. If the people lose confidence in the fiat system and gain confidence in the Garvey system, the game is over. They can sanction Traoré, they can threaten him, but they cannot stop the love that the people have for Marcus Garvey. They cannot sanction Osu, memory. They cannot sanction a dream. The bill has become a talisman, a holy object that protects the holder from the lies of the Babylon system. Stories are already spreading of people printing out copies of the bill and framing them in their living rooms, putting them on their altars. It has transcended economics and become spiritual. It is the visual proof that the prophecy is real, that the Black King has been crowned, and that the day of deliverance is at hand. For Andrew Holness, this is a PR nightmare. He cannot ban the image of Garvey that would cause a riot. He cannot praise the bill that would anger his masters. He is stuck in silence, hoping the trend will die down. But it won't die down because hunger doesn't die down. Inflation doesn't die down. As long as the Jamaican dollar keeps buying less and less, the allure of the Garvey Bill will grow. And grow eventually, the pressure will become too great. The people will demand that Jamaica join the AES currency zone. They will demand that their economy be pegged to the Sahel, not to Wall Street. This is the long game that Traoré is playing. He is not just liberating Burkina Faso, he is liberating the imagination of the entire global South. He is showing us that we don't have to accept the scraps from the master's table. We can build our own table and print our own money to buy the food for the feast. The tears of Jamaica are necessary tears. They are the tears of mourning for a lost century, but also tears of joy for a new beginning. They are the water that will water the seeds of revolution. The new bill that made Jamaica cry has done something. that no politician has been able to do. It has united the people in a shared emotional experience. On has reminded them of who they are and who they are supposed to be. Marcus Garvey predicted this. He said, "Look to Africa when a black king shall be crowned, for the day of deliverance is near." He didn't say the king would be in Kingston. He said, "Africa Traoré is that king, and the new currency is his decree. The paper may be thin, but the message is heavy. It carries the weight of 400 years of struggle and the promise of 1,000 years of victory. So let Jamaica cry, let the tears fall, because after the tears comes the clarity, and after the clarity comes the action." The people are waking up, looking at the crumbled bills in their hands, and realizing that they are holding a lie. Then they look at their screens, at the face of Garvey, staring back at them from the Sahel. And they realize that for the first time in their lives, they are looking at the truth. The bill is real, the gold is real, the army is real, and the revolution is real. The only thing that is fake is the fear that held us back for so long. Garvey is home not in the soil of Jamaica, but in the spirit of the Sahel. And soon, very soon, his children will follow him there, not in chains, but with passports in their hands and pride in their hearts. The bank of the unaligned world is open for business, and the first deposit was the legacy of Marcus Garvey, paid in full by Ibrahim Traoré. The crying has stopped. Now the planning begins, the migration begins, the shift begins. The world will never be the same again, all because of a face on a bill and the courage of a captain who dared to print it. This is the power of symbols. This is the power of legacy. This is the power of money. When it is placed in the hands of the upright men, the colonial or banks are shaking. The western capitals are buzzing. But in the streets of Kingston and Ouagadougou, there is a silent understanding. The deal has been signed. The ancestors have approved the transaction, and the new era has officially begun. Catch the wind, for it is blowing east, and it carries the scent of gold and freedom. Don't be left holding the bag of worthless paper when the real money arrives. Get ready, get aligned, and get liberated. The face of Garvey is watching, and he is smiling at last.